distracts me for the rest of the day.
See, I'm trying to think of that now too.
Yeah.
It's the W that screws you in the T.
Yeah, the T. No T. I'm trying to spell out wasp.
Or no, what am I thinking?
Yeah, there's no T. I'm thinking there's a T here.
Oh my god, my dyslexia is so bad. All words out. Oh jeez.
I'm so good at it.
I am too.
Very.
Also, like,
I'm DMing, so I'll need the link to join, okay? Just go join and full screen it.
yeah, like sometimes I'll write a word, but then I'll accidentally write it backwards.
Okay, I don't get that, but that's an interesting thing. Dyslexia.
Vibe with it.
Hello everyone, and thank you for your interest. Hello everyone, and thank you for your interest in learning more about the Co-op and Internship program at Lassonde. My name is Maylin Dagsy. My pronouns are she and her, and I am one of your co-op coordinators. In this introduction to co-op video, I will be discussing key information you need to know about the Lassonde Co-op and Internship program. I will outline program criteria and common questions students have about eligibility for co-op and for internship. And finally, I'll walk you through an overview of our co-op website to provide you with ways to quickly access additional information. Optional co-op and internship is available to all undergraduate Lassonde students. That means that for all full-time students, whether you're domestic or international students, you have the option to opt in to the program. Being in the co-op program also enables you to earn while you learn. Opportunities are paid and our employers pay a competitive rate. Our average salary rate per hour is $22.61. And to put this into context, the minimum wage in Ontario at the time of this recording is $14 an hour. Co-op also gives you an opportunity to gain valuable industry experience with top companies. It allows you to test out different roles in industry and hone your skills or discover new passions. This will help you gain career clarity, whether it be through local, national, or global opportunities. Co-op is a competitive process. However, we do offer professional job search and career preparation support while you're in the program. We do have an 80% success rate, and this is based on active job seekers enrolled in the co-op and internship program. I'll take a few minutes now to discuss some similarities and differences between co-op and internship. Both co-op and internship offer you an opportunity for paid work experience related to your degree and in industry. Co-op offers full-time paid work for durations of 4, 8, 12, or 16 months across 2 work periods for a maximum of 20 months in total. This means that you have the opportunity to work for one work period, maybe one company, then return to school for at least one academic semester, and go back again for another work period for the same company or a different company. Internship also offers full-time paid work for durations of 4, 8, 12, or 16 months, but it is one continuous work period. And after completion of your work period, you are required to return to school to complete your studies and move on towards graduation. Optional co-op program is available to engineering, earth and atmospheric science students, computer science, and computer security students. Applications for entry into the program typically begin in the fall of your second year. Optional internship program is available to computer science, computer security, and digital media students. Applications for entry into the program typically begins in the fall of your third year. Let's delve into more details about the co-op eligibility requirements that are important for you to know. In the previous slide, I mentioned that most students apply to the co-op program in the fall of their second year. The criteria I will be sharing will use the assumption that you are applying in the fall of your second year of your degree program with the intention to start your first work term once you have completed your second year courses, which will be that summer. Prior to your first work term, the eligibility criteria for engineering are as follows. You will need a minimum CGPA of a 5.0, 60 to 96 credits, including completion of 30 credits at the 2000 level. For computer science and computer security students, a minimum CGPA of a 5.0 is also required. You will need to be enrolled in an honors degree program, complete essential courses, and have 50 to 81 credits earned. For earth and atmospheric science students, you will need a minimum CGPA of a 5.0, be enrolled in honors degree program, have earned 50 to 60 credits, including core 1000 and 2000 level courses. Some common questions that we receive when it comes to co-op eligibility are, how is my CGPA of a 5.0 assessed? And what if I had transfer credits? The CGPA of a 5.0 is based on the last full-time academic term that you have spent at Lassonde. If you have transfer credits, these will need to be assessed, and we collaborate with the academic advising team as well as you to ensure that your application is properly assessed while considering these transfer credits. More specific details, such as what essential courses relate to your degree program that is required, can be found on our website at https://coop.lassonde.yorku.ca/students/eligibility. For internship, again, with the assumption that you are applying in the fall of the third year of your degree program with intention to start your first work term in the summer after completion of your third year courses. The eligibility requirements for internship for computer science and computer security prior to your first work term are a CGPA of a 6.0 in all your EECS and math courses combined, enrollment in an honors degree program, completion of essential 3000 level courses, and you must prove that you have a minimum of 9 credits to return to and complete your degree. For digital media students, a CGPA of a 5.0, enrollment in honors degree program, as well as completion of essential courses is required. Common questions that we receive when it comes to internship are, when do I need to be enrolled in these courses? And are transfer credits or course exclusions considered? You can be enrolled in the key courses at the time of application, which is typically again in the fall, but you must complete these courses prior to your starting work term, which would be in the summer. Transfer credits, just like in co-op, will need to be assessed, again in collaboration with you as well as the academic advising team. And I'm going to refer you once again to our website under Students and Eligibility to review more specific details. To access the website, type into your browser the following link: https://coop.lassonde.yorku.ca. The landing page of our website has 6 drop-down menus located on the top right-hand corner of the page. The Students drop-down menu would be the most relevant to you. Let your cursor or mouse hover over to the Student drop-down menu located halfway on the right hand of the page. The first option in the drop-down menu is Eligibility and Registration, which you will want to click on. This page is going to outline the 3-step process on how to apply for the program. As you scroll down throughout the page, steps 1 to 3 are described in more detail. I encourage you to carefully review the specific eligibility criteria for your program of study. Select your degree program by clicking on the plus or addition icon. For example, I will click on Computer Science and Computer Security. As I click on the plus icon, it will expand for you and provide you with more details about the internship program for Computer Science and Computer Security and the co-op program for Computer Science and Security. To the right of your screen, you will see a white and blue rectangle titled Self-Assess Your Eligibility and Transfer Credits. Click on this to print out or to have a copy of the eligibility criteria for each program. Students with transfer credits can click on the Transfer Credits tab to review the specific instructions required of you to help us process your application efficiently. Another resource on our website that will be useful is our Frequently Asked Questions page, also called FAQ. To access this, move your cursor again to the Student drop-down menu and select the 7th heading titled FAQ. The FAQ page categorizes frequently asked questions of students based on where they are in the co-op process. There are questions for prospective students and for students who are currently in the program. Click on the addition or plus button or icon to review those specific questions as well as the answers related to them. International students and students with disabilities also have unique questions, and we have provided some of these for you as a reference. I am going to move my cursor to the student drop-down menu one more time and select the 4th heading drop-ins from the drop-down menu. This will bring you to the drop-ins page where it provides information on how to connect with a co-op coordinator such as myself to discuss questions that are not easily found or outlined on our website. Please read the instructions in this website carefully for clarity. As you scroll to the bottom of the page, you will be able to review the calendar, which we update on a monthly basis. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Our team is looking forward to meeting with you in the near future.
Make sure you folks turn on your cameras now that we're getting started with the panel. So I'm going to start off with introductions, me, then Dan, and then our other folks here on the panel can introduce themselves. So, hello folks, my name is Alan. I'm going to my 5th year of software engineering, and many of you have already met me either virtually or in person, especially if you're here right now at week 0. I'm going my 5th and final year of software engineering. You can use he, him pronouns. I've worked 2 co-ops, one at a manufacturing company in Brampton as like a general engineering intern doing some software stuff, but also general project management stuff. And then most recently, I just finished an internship this summer at a high growth tech company, which focuses on cryptocurrency named Coinbase, and I'll be returning there full time after graduation. So I'm going to hand it off next to Dan to introduce himself, pronouns, co-op experience. Thank you, Dan.
Hi everyone, good morning. I'm Dan. My pronouns are he and him. I'm in my 4th year of electrical engineering, but it is not my last year. I'm currently on my 16-month co-op at Hydro One as electrical engineering student co-op.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dennis. Can we have you introduce yourself? Dennis, you got an A
Yes,
this
Johnny,
time.
my
Yeah.
bad. But
Want
hey,
to introduce
folks,
yourself?
I'm
No worries.
sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there's just a bit of a delay, I think, but you're good to go. We're just outside.
All right, cool. Yeah. If I interrupt you, then I have a delay. But I'm Dennis. I'm entering my third year of computer science. My pronouns are he, him. I just finished a co-op just now, like a few days ago, literally just now, in a consulting company called Decisive Edge. It's located in Markham. I was working as a software developer, fixing bugs and implementing features for one of their software. And yeah.
Yeah, fun fact, one of the people I'm working with from Lassonde this summer just finished their term at Decisive Edge last summer. So hope to see you at Coinbase, Dennis. All right. Amin, Salwan, if you folks are there, if you folks can turn on your camera perhaps, if you want to go introduce yourselves. Who wants to? Amin, are you there? I know you're all the way in BC right now. One of our execs went on a little trip with some other people. All right, I'm going to assume it's too early for him because it's 6:30 a.m. over there. So we're going to move on with some of our questions that we have prepared for all you folks today. Others, feel free to chime in whenever you're able to get a connection. Feel free to use the private chat that we have here on Restream. Awesome. So we're going to start off with one question about co-op and internship, and that's what is the co-ops you've done, which I know you folks just answered. So maybe can you share what you did in those positions and as well a recent project or maybe your favorite project you worked on within the term? I'm going to hand it off to Dan Diza to answer this question about what he did working at Hydro One and maybe his favorite project working there.
So my main task at Hydro One is to translate new engineering designs into a more searchable database object. For example, a new design comes into me, have to lay it out on a database so that the engineers out on the field can easily search on their laptops which devices they want to fix or work on in the field. So one of the projects I recently completed is part of a call like a system within Ontario called Ontario One Call. So how it works is whenever you're digging, let's say in your backyard, 6 feet deep, you have to call Ontario One to make sure that there are no electrical cables, fiber optics, or whatever cables they have underground, so that you don't hit them. So my project for that is I had to verify at least 700 fiber optic lines all throughout Ontario and make sure they are laid out properly on a map. Yeah, so yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dan. Dennis, do you want to go ahead, tell us what you were doing specifically and maybe what your favorite project you worked on over your internship this summer was?
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, I think there's a bit of a delay when I mute my mic. So if I'm sitting there awkwardly, it's because I'm unmuting my mic, not because I'm just sitting. But yeah, well, I only worked on one, so that kind of makes it easy. The project that I worked on, it's basically an ERP accounting software. How many details I can get into because there is some confidentiality. But essentially, the software worked with accounting, finance, basically keeping track of money going in, money going. And what I did on it specifically is and if you're not tech savvy, essentially what a bug is you have a software and a thing that's not going particularly right, you would consider that a bug. So one example that I usually give is, let's say you have a scroll bar on the side, scroll down, but the scroll bar isn't moving. So they would give that task to a developer to fix. And then I would go in, try to figure out why the scroll bar isn't working and add possibly a function or some type of event to make the scroll bar work. And I would also do some testing to make sure that it actually does move down. So let's say, yeah, sorry. Alan.
No
You
worries.
can
Sorry, I
start
think you
talking.
just got cut out for a second. Keep going. Keep going.
Oh, okay. Should I start again?
No, we heard you. You can keep going.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, with my scroll bar example, but basically, let's say you got a scroll bar that doesn't work. That would be enough to a developer like me, and then I would go in and figure out why the scroll bar doesn't work. Maybe there's something missing, or maybe there's stopping it from moving. So I would go and fix that. And I'd do some testing. Maybe the scroll bar goes down, but it doesn't go back. And you need a scroll bar, so make sure it move back up. Make sure that it works. And that was what I was doing over the 4 months I'm working on software.
Awesome. Thank you. Give me one moment here. Cool. So a bit about what I did. So I spent this summer working at Coinbase, and for folks who don't know, Coinbase is a cryptocurrency exchange, and that means we do a lot about telling folks. Um, we do a lot about helping people buy and sell cryptocurrency. That means not only helping people who are individuals buy cryptocurrency, but also setting up for institutions such as banks and hedge funds to buy their cryptocurrency. So, hi, Dan, in the chat. So, what does that mean? Well, cryptocurrency is something that, if you folks don't know, maybe we have some experts in the crowd here, is a way of monetizing digital assets, essentially. And the way a lot of the time that's done is you basically need people to work together to keep kind of a ledger of how the transactions are going. So there's an interesting aspect to it. In the idea of decentralizing currency, we still have centralized exchanges for people to buy and sell. And that's kind of where cryptocurrency started in Crypto 1.0. And so that's a big part of Coinbase and where a lot of our main investors or even just general consumers are going to buy is from an exchange that owns the cryptocurrency itself and is selling it to you. In addition to that, there's another thing called decentralized finance, where sorry, can we do the panel? And so the other idea is decentralized finance, and that's helping connect other people to buy and sell their cryptocurrency without us directly needing to be a part of that and not selling them our cryptocurrency, but connecting other people who are trading. So specifically what I worked on is on the financial hub team of Coinbase, and we power a lot of what goes through to manage all the transactions, keep track of them, to account for it in our own ledger. And I was actually placed on a new team for a platform we're developing that is going to help people with some of the regulatory aspects of cryptocurrency that you can imagine, such as making sure they can pay their taxes. So this is a new platform that Coinbase has been talking about implementing and is going to go live relatively soon. And we've already been sharing some information, so feel free to search it up. But yes, so I was on the team developing our new platform, and in that position, I worked as a back-end software engineer working on services. So for folks who don't know, in the software realm, a lot of the time when you're using these platforms nowadays, they're not just running a single version of an application that controls everything to do with the website. In fact, they not only need to run multiple versions of the application to support people, but to maximize the amount of people who can use it, we break the program into different services. And you might hear terms like service-oriented architecture or microservices, and it's something along those lines. So I was working on developing a new service with my team, and I was responsible for one particular service generally throughout my internship. And I was working in the Go programming language to basically make endpoints that our front end could request things from. And I was handling the logic to make sure our front end got all that information through either pulling from our own databases or asking from other services that we already have. And so that is essentially what I did within the job. I can see that I think Tony might have shared the wrong link. So if you want to go to our YouTube, you can find this Restream link there. Anyways, so that's what I did on the job. And that's so my favorite part within that project was probably the last thing I did. And it's basically when at some point everyone will want to see all the transactions they've ever made. They want to see, you know, what's their gain and loss, and they want to see how that's going to impact their taxes. It was the most difficult part of my job, but also the most rewarding, knowing that, you know, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe in one day, millions of people are going to be using code I wrote. And so whenever people are going to go see their taxes and their transactions, they are going to be using what I made. What I found challenging about it was that I'm sure a lot of you use websites like Reddit or Twitter and, you know, or TikTok, and essentially you're scrolling, and then it needs to load new pages or new videos or pictures. And the idea is that it's called pagination, right? To go through different pages. And so, with the data I was working with being fairly complex, implementing the pagination took a bit of work because not only did I need to paginate between the front end and our back end service, but the other back end services that I was talking to, I had to also handle pagination for that. And so, between that and all the business logic of tax information I was applying, it was definitely a challenge, but it was very rewarding to see. It was very rewarding to see it come together and even some tests working. I'm sure a lot of you folks who will be working in software will be doing testing, and so it is great when things start to fix themselves and your errors are being resolved. So I'd love to move on to our next question here. And the next question I have for my folks on the panel is, why did you go into co-op and what are the benefits you found, and did you learn any new skills? So why, and then, you know, what benefits and skills did you find from our co-op program? And can I have Dennis to start this one off?
Oh, good question. Well, why did I go to co-op? And the benefits are sort of interrelated. But I found so many benefits from going into co-op. First of all, as you saw in the video, it's paid. I think that's one thing that everybody can agree is a good thing. It's a good job. It's a position, right? So that money that you get can go towards tuition, can go towards yourself. It can go towards basically anything you want. As well. Sorry, just want to make sure I didn't cut out there because I think my video
Can you
cut
do
out
it
for a
again?
minute.
Sorry, you did. It's because I just was changing my network too. If you want to restart, I think we'll have better network connection now.
Why do you do all your testing while I talk?
Because people
Can you
love
hear me?
hearing me. Yeah.
Dan, I think we should leave on the floor.
I know.
Okay,
Anyway,
Dennis, go ahead. Share about, you know, why did you go into co-op? What benefits did you find, and any skills from that?
yeah, sure, definitely. Lots of skills. Thing is that it's paid, which is a great thing. That money can go towards tuition, can go towards, you know, whatever you really want it to go to. Kind of helps you be more independent. For me, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And so doing co-op gave me an idea of what I might be doing after graduation. It sort of gave me an idea of the kind of skills I would need, what I would be doing, how the development like life cycle and how the industry actually works. I got to talk to other people who are in my shoes. Turns out a lot of people didn't really know what they wanted to do in university and right they graduated, so it was nice to know I wasn't alone. As well, it was really cool just to meet other people that used to be students and then graduate and started working other places. You can kind of see the difference between school and work and that it doesn't correlate one-to-one. School does give you certain tools. It sort of gives you like the introduction to something. And then in work, it's actually you to go and implement that and use that. School does give you the tools, but they don't really show you how to use them, I think is a good example. So the software that I got to use was C#, .NET, and Knockout, which is a front-end framework. If you don't know what that is, it's okay. Actually, I didn't know how to use any of these softwares when I first started. I knew some coding languages like Java and Python from school, but I didn't know how to use these other ones. And they were totally cool with it. I essentially just did it while I was working, and they were totally fine with it. There's a lot of learning on the job that you do. I learned that Google stuff. My
Mhm.
mentor Google stuff all the time. And he said that he Googles like the simplest stuff. Yeah, and nothing. Yeah, it's okay to
He
Google
actually
things.
just
Um,
Wi-Fi.
all you have to do is sorry.
No, you're good. I think the Tony speakers just died.
Oh,
Just keep speaking. We swapped it. You're good. We need to switch these two. No,
okay, cool.
we need more people.
That's
Mhm.
great.
What else was I saying? Yeah, the sorry, should I keep talking? Should I
Yeah,
give you
yeah.
guys a
Keep
minute?
talking. Keep talking. Thank you, Dennis.
Okay, okay, perfect. Yeah, lots of Google things. What I realized is it's okay if you just want to Google a tutorial on how to do something. Like you're not bored knowing everything. And so if you want to Google how to do something or ask how to do something, that's totally normal. Not everybody, actually nobody knows how to do everything. Believe it or not, I'm sure not even Alan knows how to do everything, even though it's, so it's okay to it's okay to not. And it kind of gave me some more confidence as well after the co-op. There are a couple other things as well that I think everybody can relate to. Is you can kind of figure out the type of things that you like and you don't like, because doing projects and doing schoolwork is a thing. But you might go into the industry and graduate and then realize, oh, you don't like this. This is not what. It's better to figure that out while you're still in school co-op than finishing all 4 or 5 years of your program, graduating, getting a job, and then figuring out this isn't. Another thing is it's much easier to find a co-op full-time position, and it's difficult to find a co-op experience. Sorry, if you think it's difficult to find a co-op position with no experience, imagine how hard it is to find a full position with no experience. So it also prepares you graduate. You already have some experience that you can relate to, and most of the time, the stuff that you're doing in co-op will be similar to the stuff you'll be doing in full-time. So you can also talk about that, and then it's easier to hire you as opposed to somebody that has never worked anywhere. So I just felt like a lot of those things were really useful to me, and that was part of the reason why I went into co-op, mostly just so I could get a better idea of what I want as graduation and if I'm in the right field. And I figured out that luckily I am in the right field. I want to do more co-ops in the future just to see what specific I'm going to do, what part of software development and computer venture into. But yeah, those are the numerous benefits that I kind of gained from co-op.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dennis. I think co-op will really show you what you do like, what you don't like. I think that it'll definitely provide a gateway to a full-time job. And I think a lot of people here will see, upper year students, many will be returning to co-ops that they had because they've had good experiences and their employer invested in them and wants them back. So I'm going to hand this off to Dan, and he can share a bit about some of the skills he learned and other benefits that he found from his co-op experience.
So I went into co-op because
Disconnect all the wires.
to figure out which part of a utility industry I want to go into, and also the benefits I got from Hydro One is first of all like a good pay, really good pay. And on my first day, what my supervisor did, he gave me a link to all the training modules at all for Hydro One engineers. So what happened is I got to learn stuff that I should be learning on my fourth year of electrical engineering and also like third year. So through that, I kind of know which courses I want to take, and also part of it is like a learning, how to work with other people. And so teamwork. What else?
We're going to do a quick swap.
All right. Yep. Channel mode.
You're good.
Hello. Hello, mic test.
Yeah, you're good.
So hello. So where was I again? Yeah. So and also I got to learn things like I don't want to do anymore in terms of like a job. Let's say having a boring job, and also I got to have connections of I got to have connections with engineers that helped me out, became my mentor, teaching me stuff. What else? I think that's it. Alan.
Amazing. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much, Dan. And we just swapped the speakers. So when Dennis answers, you'll be on big speakers now. That's awesome. Excellent. So why did I do internship? Two main reasons. The first one was because obviously it's much easier to get a full-time job, not only a return offer, but with some experience, right? And they're much more willing to hire people for a co-op with none than a full-time with none. On top of that, I think a lot of you can relate that money is nice, especially if you're paying for a lot of your own expenses. I know I have my own car, and in addition to that, trying to live a good life, with some friends, go downtown, that sort of thing. And sadly, my parents don't want to subsidize that life, so I need a job. And although I had a normal job, I knew that having a job in engineering, even an internship over a summer, will provide a bit more to make that a bit easier. To go out late on campus and spend my money at the Absinthe Bar and Pub and Cafe Shop. And so those were my main motivations for finding a co-op. The benefits that I found are not only are you learning the real technical skills that you need, and I know Dennis elaborated on the idea that what you're learning in school is really theoretical, and you're not learning the application aspect of on-job stuff, but you do learn not only the technical work, but how to work in a team and how to actually accomplish projects. I think a lot of you folks will find in your coursework, and you can even imagine this in high school, that you're learning different skills, but sometimes it's lacking the overall connection between everything and how it all fits together and how you really use it to solve big problems. And so when you're given real business problems that are needed, either to make money, to solve problems for people, and hopefully doing both at the same time, you'll be learning the software skills that help you do it or engineering skills that help you do it. And so with that in mind, you'll learn a lot of project management. I guarantee you most of you folks will be working with Agile as your project management development style. And you'll see that you're able to accomplish a lot in a team by following specific methods. And I'm sure other people might do others. And from engineering students, you will learn Agile. You'll also learn about waterfall, Prince 2 approaches. But you do learn a lot of the project management benefits. And so one of the things that I took away not only was this and how I can work on a team and a company, but also learning the skills. So myself, one day I can go to found my own company, and someone has a mic that's popping. All right, I'm just going to remove that for now. So beyond that, you can find the ability for you to be able to found your own company and use these skills. Can I have someone check out, hey, everyone standing at the table, can you check out the AV equipment? Thank you. Awesome. So beyond that, those are the two main skills. Unplug the aux, unplug it. All right, cool. Thank you. I think they might need my help in a second. Anyways, so those are the main benefits I found through my internship. So the next question I have, and I'm going to hand it off to Dan, can you tell me a bit about your application? I have no idea. Okay. Can you tell me a bit about your application process and any tips?
I can just oh. I'll just stand there.
All right, I think you're good, Dan.
I'll just stand. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, you're good. Oh, good for now. You move. No. Yeah, you're good to answer.
So my application process was like similar to every company, and you just send your resume to the website and also to co-op, and hoping that someone will see it and ask you for interview. But for me, it was a bit tricky because my onboarding process was during COVID, so it took longer than expected. So for tips, I would say design your resume in a way that will make you look like a well-rounded person. Let's say you have your working skill, customer service, those kind of stuff, and also add projects, leadership positions, experience, and what else? Volunteer positions. And that what I did. That's what I did for my resume. And so join clubs within Lassonde. It will definitely help you. And also don't be afraid to speak to upper students because most of the time they have connection within the company that you want to work for, and they can actually help you out during the application process and during the resume design. And thank you.
Amazing. I'm going to answer really quickly before we hand it off to Dennis. So I got my first internship through applying through the Lassonde Co-op portal. When you apply through the Lassonde Co-op portal, generally you'll be getting your transcript and a little package with your application. So I'm very happy I got the job because my grades, they're all right, but they're not anything to be super happy about. But I was still able to get it through Lassonde Co-op. After that, I started applying very heavily, not just through the portal, where you have to compete with every Lassonde student, but I applied to a lot of other places. And this is my advice to you folks: is when you start applying, do not apply just to the portal, or you will really be putting yourself in risk of not having a job. So you need to look at these places to when you want to apply for a job. This is like a serious list. You want to look at LinkedIn and the job postings there, Glassdoor and the job postings there. You'll want to check Indeed and probably AngelList as well. And one of my personal favorites to find jobs, especially if you want to work in startups or high growth companies, is Hacker News. Is this like little kind of almost Reddit type clone made by Y Combinator, like a really big startup accelerator that helped a lot of companies like Uber, Reddit, Twitter, Twitch like get started. And so my advice to you is even to go on Hacker News on the first Monday of every month. They post who is hiring and who wants to be hired. So you can either post your resume and info and who wants to be hired, but as well and who is hiring. Go there and see which companies have postings. A lot of them, especially smaller companies, will just put their email and you can email them. And so my advice to you, kind of on that tangent as well, is if you find companies that are cool, if you go out of your way to say, I want to work in this field, I want to use these technologies, tell the companies, email them and tell them, hey, my name is, Dan, I'm really interested in, electrical systems. I've, been really active in my school community. I have past work experience, at the provincial level. I'd really like to have a chance to talk with you for a bit about what you do at your company. And most of the time, these people will get back to you. They'll even have just a chat with you, not even about a job. But I've gotten interviews this way, and it is a fantastic opportunity. And I really, really suggest you folks take ownership and control over job applications. And I'll hand it off to Dennis to talk a bit about some of his advice and his application process. And just to quickly say, I got my second job just through applying to the company Coinbase directly through their postings. That's how I got it, but I'll hand it off to Dennis now to answer.
Thanks, Alan. Process. So originally, I also applied to list my resume, and I heard back. What's called an OA. I don't remember what it stands for. It's something assessment. It's a coding
Online
assessment, basically. Thank you. Yeah, it's that. Basically, what it is they check to see if you can code and sort of how good they are. You don't need to be out of this world. I mean, for me, like I'm able to code and I'm able to implement some thousands of hours just coding every day. I spend thousands of hours. I don't spend thousands of hours every month just coding. But they said, and I just within a few hours, several hours, maybe I went into the night, doesn't matter. I sent it back and I got an interview. I did and they liked me, obviously. I got the position. However, I actually wouldn't have gotten the assessment in the first place because I going to Lassonde Games, which is a Lassonde hackathon, as you can imagine the name implies. And it was being sponsored by Decisive, one of the companies. And I went and just talked to the hiring manager, introduced just told them about my interests, who I am, what I'm looking for. And I don't know, interesting, I guess. And she recommended that I talk to somebody else at the company who has similar interests as me. And I talked to him, and I guess he liked, and I found him interesting, and he offered to send in my resume to the hiring manager. And so I did that, and after that meeting, they kind of got an idea of who I was in terms of my character, my personality. Like, I'm not a psycho, I'm not a crazy person. And after that, that sort of got me into the interview stage. And then I was sent the OA, and it was basically just to make sure and that I'm not like lying on my resume. And then after the OA, I got the interview, and the interview was mostly like based off of like social skills and knowledge. So in this situation, what are some types that, but like teamwork, and so you can kind of tell how different ways, but just blatantly like applying to places won't always get you somewhere. Like, it's good to reach out. I was told that I'm part of the 1% of people reached out to her, talked to her. So it's a good way to stand out, and it's also a good way to go resume, because your resume only says so much. It just talks about your experiences. And if you're a university student, especially first or second year, you won't have that many. So you actually want to show yourself, you want to show your personality, the type of person that you are, just so they can get a better idea of who you are instead of just making assumptions based off your resume. So reaching out was definitely a good idea, because I got my help from there. And yeah, some advice that I would offer, especially for computing majors, is you'd be surprised what is actually considered as experience. You might think that only jobs and projects are considered experience, and I'd highly suggest, oh my god, sorry about the word, but competitions also counts as experience. You could do online competitions, you could do hackathons. That shows your passion and your interest for the field, as well as some experience in the skills and the like technologies that you'll be using. As you do like project home, the projects. Like I've seen people go around and like offer to make websites for like small companies just out during the pandemic. They don't have to be professional, but it shows some of your skills. It's an interesting way to sort of like grab skills from places you didn't expect. It's kind of like saying you get customer service skills from like working at McDonald's, right? You just quantify your experiences and sort of showing yourself more. As well, for your first co-op, you'll probably apply to a lot of places, and as Alan mentioned, to just the co-op portal, it's got positions, and it is really helpful. But you sort of want to branch out and sort of find different positions. Lassonde doesn't have all the companies, so you'd want to go to Glassdoor and LinkedIn as well. And yeah, and then you want to make sure that your resume shows who you are, that everything's relevant. Like if you start putting just random things on your resume that have to do with what you're applying to, like skills, but you don't want something random like worked in a soup kitchen, right? Or like soup. Maybe if you're then maybe that would help. But if it's something really random, right, I don't see you as reputable. I think that you sort of but your resume is related to what you're applying for. That might apply because you're just grabbing everything. But yeah, sorry, I can tell Alan kind of wants me to hurry. That was my last like bit of advice.
Absolutely, Dennis, you're right on the point. So I just want to add on a couple things before I move on to the next question. The first thing is to make sure you all know, no matter what field you're in, if you're in a computing major, other engineering major, civil, geomatics, space, mech, recruiters generally only look at your resume for like max 30 seconds. And it's really important that your resume is limited to one page. It's very to the point. It's very clear to read. You're not using, difficult formats. One thing to be aware of is that a lot of the time these companies have resume parsers, which to make it easy for them to go through people, they kind of use, scrape every resume to input details like experience into like kind of spreadsheet. So if you use like a custom design, like weird format, multiple columns, there's a good chance you might break one of these parsers and it can instantly get your resume thrown out. Beyond that, make it clear, make it attention grabbing, make it different. And your resume is an iterative process and you should always be updating it. And if you'd like, I have a slightly out of date resume, very slightly, on my website. If you want to ever take a look, alankaplan.com/resume. And you can definitely see it over there. I've gone a bit of flack because I have a bit of creativity with mine, but I definitely recommend checking it out. And like Dennis mentioned, I just want to mention it again. If you're applying to less than 100 jobs, there is a big chance you won't get a first co-op. If you apply to 250, that really goes up. And then beyond that is even if you get an interview, it doesn't guarantee anything, but an interview is always going to be great experience because you might if you get a job, you get one interview, you get the job, fantastic. But a lot of the time you won't get it. You won't get every job you interview for. So the more experience, the better. And with that in mind, I'd also like to ask, what people's interview tips are. And I'll just share a quick one is that you should try and nail down some stories beforehand and figure out Google the common interview questions. Things like, when have you ever worked on a team and had, a disagreement? How did you solve it? That's a very common one. Yeah. What project are you most proud of or did you work on recently? You might get asked questions about what do you do outside of school? What are your hobbies? And it's good to nail down these answers before because these are things that can be thought of earlier, and will definitely bring you success if you can like easily almost not regurgitate it, but know what you're speaking, know the points that you want to go over. So I have different projects that I've done in my school. That are fantastic. And the final thing I'll leave you folks off with is like Dennis mentioned, competitions are fantastic. Hackathons are great, not just for computing, but for everyone. There are all sorts of competitions out there. You're going to do York Engineering Competition today, a little teaser for what we do during the year. It's going to be our junior design category teaser, but we have 7 categories, including a programming one, including consulting. And I recommend you attend those competitions as well as hackathons. The earlier you start going to hackathons, the better you'll be at them. So if you're going to go consider it, I would say 3 hackathons this year would be fantastic. I honestly love to do hackathons. I do them sometimes twice a month because it puts the pressure on you to not only do work, but to get it finished. And that's really valuable because a lot of the time you might start a project, you might learn a lot of skills, you might do something great, but there's not as much follow through because you are limited in respect to in respect to the pressure to complete it. So with that, I want to hand it off to Dan and then Dennis again to go over interview tips and tricks.
Just like what Alan said, having like prepare like answers ready for the common interview questions. Also, check out glassdoor.ca because usually they have tons of like people there who like give out like interview tips also and how's the process. And also you can get a snippet of technical questions that they may ask you on glassdoor.ca. That's actually like I found one of the interview questions in Hydro through glassdoor.ca, which is why do we transmit electricity at high voltages with low current? The reason why is if we transmit at high current, that will heat up the transmission lines and will destroy it eventually. And by lowering down the current, we will lower down the power loss and will keep the longevity of the transmission lines.
Amazing. And Dennis, if you can talk about what your interview process was at Decisive Edge and any tips and tricks you have for our incoming students, we'd love to hear it.
Thanks, Alan. Definitely. My it was technical at all, so they didn't ask me to code anything and give me any puzzles or any questions related to that. A lot of it was mostly just behavioral and situational. So something Alan mentioned, like describe when you had to work on a team, or describe the competition. I see you participated in Lassonde games. I see you won Lassonde games. What was that like? Why do you think you won? You don't have to win anything though. Just competing is good enough. They would ask you a lot of questions about, what was it like? Why do you think you won? Do you think you did a good job? Could you have improved? As well, I mentioned, like, you do want to nail down your skills. You want to mention the motivation. So why did you take them? How did you sort of get involved in it? How did you learn about it? Also, what did you learn from that experience? Maybe you learned some technical skills. Maybe you learned that you work better alone, or you work better with these types of people, or you work well with these types of people. As well, I'd highly suggest just being yourself. I think a lot of people, when they go into interviews, they expect the company to want somebody in like a certain mold. But I suggest just being yourself. A lot of people pre-write answers. It sounds really, but just coming up with your unique self. Like, if you don't know what you want to do, that's what you want to do in the future, you can say I don't know, and then you keep going and say, I don't know that, I have an interest in this, or I don't have an interest. Like your own custom, unique self. I've only done one interview, and that was my Decisive Edge interview, which also kind of gives you an idea of how many positions you should apply for, because I did about 90 to 100 and I got one. And yeah, mainly those are my tips.
Yeah, and it was, from a connection. I can definitely say that it will take you far. Awesome. So I want to just also talk a bit about my interview process at Coinbase. I know I get this question a lot, and I think Ariane in the chat was asking. I'll leave it highlighted for everyone to see. So how is the interview process like? So at Coinbase, and I think a lot of tech companies or larger companies in general, if you're in mechanical and trying to get into Tesla or something, they're going to receive a lot of applicants. I know for my position at Coinbase in this summer term, we had, I think, 20,000 applicants for just over 100 positions. So it was pretty competitive. And like I said, with 20,000 applicants at 30 seconds a resume, that's 10,000 minutes divided amongst like only 5 recruiters. So about 2,000 minutes of just resume review, at most by these recruiters. And, obviously that's not possible. So I'm telling you, a lot of these resumes instantly get trashed if they're not parsable, if it, looks, shady or whatever it is. So let's say you are able to slip through the filter, because, I applied to lots of companies, not just Coinbase, and Coinbase was the only major tech one, I think, that got back to me, and got me an interview. Or actually, first thing I got was an online assessment. And I think it's like Dennis mentioned, is that I was basically sent 2 questions. I had to open it up. It had 2 questions in like an hour to solve. If you folks know like algorithmic websites, Leak Code, it was about 2 Leak Code medium questions. And you needed about 75, they didn't tell us this, I found after, you needed 75% between both of them to move on to a behavioral interview. And they also check the code for like, competency, style, that sort of thing. So I passed the OA. I had a quick like 30-minute phone chat scheduled with an awesome recruiter. We talked a bit about, myself, my interests, why I'm applying. At these behavioral levels, you're not talking to engineers. So even though you'll want to highlight some of your technical skills, you don't really need to be too specific about what those skills are. You should talk more about the projects you've done. On top of that, make sure if you ever have an interview, do not make this rookie mistake. Make sure you Google and understand the company you will be interviewing with. People will literally go into interviews not fully knowing what the company does or what their position does. So reread what position you applied for, look at the company, see what other interns have done, in the past, see on Glassdoor, what the interviews are like as well. Beyond that, you might want to do a quick LinkedIn stalking, very, very minor check of your recruiter and who will be talking to you, to kind of gauge what their level of understanding is, what companies they have worked for in the past. So I got past the behavioral interview, which is about 30 minutes, make sure I'm a normal person. I wasn't bluffing about my skills or anything. And then the next final phase for me, it was a 3-stage process between the OA, behavioral interview, and then a final technical one-on-one with the full-time engineer. And so I basically had 1 hour to solve a problem with a full-time engineer. We were given a problem that was graded with a rubric that we didn't have access to. I didn't know the rubric existed until after. But essentially, it was a relatively simple problem based on data structures that I was given to solve. And the most important thing about any of these technical ones, and you also might get this in civil, space, and mechanical, is you might get, theoretical questions, and they're not looking for you to say immediately, this is the right design. Same with an algorithm, that this is the right algorithm. What they're looking for is to see your thought process. They want to see how you work, to understand the question, how you communicate it, how you think of possible solutions, and how you choose the solution. I know this is a law right now, but you can Google this Reacto method. I find the Reacto method I found online very helpful. But basically, read the question, kind of think of some example test cases, try and come up with, different solutions. And then finally, after, you've talked about it, you've thought about it, you've come up with test cases, then you can finally, and, describe your code and the algorithm, then you finally code it. And it's the same with anything, is you really want to take your time and show that, if you were given this real question on the job, that you wouldn't go just right to coding it, right to CAD or anything. You'd sit down with a pen and paper, you'd think about it, and really, how does this work? How does it affect other systems? All that stuff. So I had 1 hour with an engineer. A lot of the time, engineers who are interviewing you, if they're not your manager, it's because your manager or someone in the company wants these other lower, relatively newer people to have experience interviewing, and interns are pretty low stake to interview. So they're just normal people, and you sit down, you talk with them, try and solve the solution that you have. And so that's a bit of my tips regarding my interview process. We do have more questions here, but I would love to see if there's any questions in the audience for myself, Dan, Dennis, that we can help answer. So feel free to raise your hand, and if I don't see one in 30 seconds, I'm going to ask another question.
Y'all got questions?
We got answers. Is it early in the morning? It is early in the morning. Where did I find my energy? Somewhere deep in my soul. Woo! Yeah, I had coffee this morning. All right, I'll have another question while you folks think of some great Q&A. Is if you could go back to your first year self. Yeah, if you could go back to, your first year self, or maybe yourself when you just first started applying for co-ops, what advice would you give yourself, Dennis and Dan? And I'll just give a quick one. Maybe I'll take it back again. I'll just say, don't be too hard on yourself, and don't be afraid to apply. Don't think you'll never get a position. And if you get a rejection, don't worry. I've gotten rejections within a day. Some companies you apply to and you never get rejected. Second thing I tell myself is take better track of what jobs you're applying to on the spreadsheet or the website or something. Because it's important to know which companies are applying to, where you're applying to, so you can apply in future terms and you know how fast they respond. And the last thing I'll say is get help on your resume from the community around you. So be it Lassonde students, the clubs at York and Lassonde, going to the Lassonde Co-op department and just giving them your resume for a review. And there's also a bunch of cool online resources like cscareers.dev and their Discord and other CS career Discords. And there's the same for mechanical, civil, and they'll roast your resume. And like the CS Hub Discord at York at Lassonde will do it. But believe me, it is for the better. Because a bad resume will get immediately thrown out, considering they're not looking at it for more than 30 seconds if you have the best resume that you've ever seen. So, Dan, if you want to tell us some of your advice that you wish your younger self knew when applying for jobs, be it, co-op or even in general in your experience.
I wish I should have cast a wider net when applying to co-op. Because when I was applying for co-op, I was mainly applying to two companies, either Toronto Hydro or Hydro One, because I really want to work in the electrical industry. Um, yeah, then and I want to tell my first year self, like when applying self, is have like a prepare like answer more the question you found on the internet, because I didn't do that at all. Probably I had like one question prepared for each interview, And if I did that, if I prepared some like answers already, I probably have like landed the job earlier. And also, I should have practiced interview like with one-on-one with co-op. I didn't do that because I didn't have time back then. I wish I had. And I think that's it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dan. And as well, off to you, Dennis. So beyond, the advice we shared, do you have any tips for our students?
Yeah. I think for me, oh, sorry, one thing before I forget. Yeah, Al, sorry, if you said something I didn't hear. Okay, never mind. Sorry, I thought Alan said something. Never mind. Maybe you're just messing with me. I'm gonna keep talking. One thing, actually two things. Lassonde, once you get into the co-op program, and you like, which is sort of like interview, give you example questions, and more than just for coding majors, it's for all the various majors and the different types of programs. Similar to like Dan mentioned with some of the questions, some example questions, and I'd highly suggest looking into that once you do apply to the co-op program and do get that. Some tips that I have, I think in the beginning, I was spending a lot of time applying to like an individual position. You know, look at a position and read the requirements, and I'm not too qualified for this, or I get it, I don't know if it would be interesting, drag my feet with the and then I eventually realized that it's better to apply first and then just see what happens. Maybe they don't take, and all that worrying was for nothing. Maybe they do take you and you have an interview, then you can actually ask them more about the position, get a better idea. Maybe it wasn't you were thinking, like it's okay to reject the job. But I would suggest just doing things sort of faster and moving at a faster pace. Afterwards, I started to just line up a bunch of jobs and just and then I'd like margin it just because I didn't have all that much experience to add/remove. So I suggest just like doing it quickly. My friend was 10 applications a day, and that's sort of like a good thing to keep in mind. Just 10 applications a day, because after 10 days you're already at 100. And as Alan mentioned, 100, sort of like one of the key milestones you want to get to. And those are my tips.
Amazing. Thank you.
Working.
So how do you find which jobs you would like? That's a great question.
Yeah, it is.
I think that for a lot of you folks, you might think you know what you want, and for a lot of you folks, you'd have no idea what you want to do. I think for my folks here in first year engineering, you have so many options open to you, and for my folks in CS, and computing in general, the amount of jobs in computing, from embedded systems to software development to app development, is just huge now. But so, how do you find what you want? I really suggest being able to go to events like hackathons and competitions, speak to people who worked at the company who are there, and get their opinion on on how they like the company, on what they do, and see if that falls in line. As well, doing research online and trying to see what these companies are like. But in the end of the day, I find that nothing will show you what you like more or less than actually getting the experience. And that might take form of you asking upper years to work on a project with them, maybe at a hackathon. I know I've worked with some first year students trying to teach them, and it was able to give them a good gauge of how their work fit into, or how that work actually happened. But beyond that, I would say to get involved in the teams at Lassonde. We have a lot of technical teams. Some of them are many in the garages behind us, between our human powered vehicle team, our Formula One team. We also have our rover team here. Rover team has tons of different subgroups. So they have a systems design group, a software group, a mechatronics group is working on our rover. And these technical teams will really show you what you want. Or we also have the satellite team. And the good aspect of these is you can always, they're low commitment. So if you want to stop, it's understandable. If you're doing one of these teams like satellite or the rover team, you can swap between groups if you find that, you're not as interested in mechatronics and you want to do pure software or vice versa. And so that's another great way to get in it. Oh, that's another great way to get involved is to talk to the teams and get involved with them and even be courageous enough maybe to start your own team. I know people have been thinking about autonomous vehicle team and the Hyperloop teams. So those are other ones you can think of getting started with, especially for my mechanical engineers who are interested in implementing that stuff. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Is there any other questions? Yeah.
Do you recommend if you do co-op in your second year, or do you think it's okay to like wait until third year or even fourth year to do your co-op?
Yeah. So I know we have Dennis and Dan here, but I'll give a quick answer. So for co-op itself, you need to, I believe, be above 60 credits, but below 120, like two, to start it. Meaning you can only start between your end of your second and but before, like, I guess if you're in engineering, you can't do it like towards the end of your
No,
degree.
you can't do that.
So you are limited, and you have to be able to do like what they said in the video, at least have two work placements separated by one study term, and you also have to finish on a study term. So that means you can't just do 3 years, do one co-op for 12 months, and be expect to be led in the program. If you are in computer science, you do have the option of internship, which is after third year, which is to do a minimum of 12 months, and it's only you can do one or two placements, and you don't need it separated by a work term. But if you're doing co-op, because it is accredited with the Canadian like work integrated learning like organization, you do need to do at least term separated by a school term. So I'd suggest to try after second year. And to be honest, if you're willing to go outside of the co-op portal, if you're not doing anything in the summer, register for summer courses and just start applying to jobs. And if by some miracle you do find a job after your first year, not only are you going to get a huge advantage compared to other students in every school for the future, but you'll also, regardless of finding a job, have the process for applying down. You'll have your resume. You'll know what works and what doesn't work for you. So I'd really suggest to apply after your first year and to start applying as soon as possible, just because the experience in applying can be invaluable. I don't know if you folks have anything to add on top of that. No. Other questions in the audience?
Yeah. Well,
Go ahead, Dennis. I know it's going to be delayed when you hear this.
sorry, Alan.
Yes.
I wanted to add something quickly. You kind of interrupted me quite rudely as well. It's a quick thing though. The experience in applying is a really good point that I was going to mention. Just even if you don't get a position, just the concept of actually applying, because I feel like going in the applications, you picture it being one thing, and it turns out to be something totally different. It's much tougher than you expect it to be, and just sort of like getting your foot in the door in the sense of applying is really good as well. I feel like doing co-ops earlier would be much more beneficial because you get an idea of what you like, what you don't like to. Let's say you do a co-op with like artificial intelligence. It turns out you love artificial intelligence. Well, now you like artificial intelligence, you're going to take some courses on it. You hate artificial intelligence, so in your third year, you can avoid all the AI courses. So to do it earlier, just so you can sort of plan out the degree based off of your interests and your experiences. Obviously, if you do it in your third and fourth year, that's still really beneficial. It's better than nothing. But that's just my perspective. And at the end of the day, if you do apply and you get that application and you do get a position, you can always reject it. So it's better to apply than not apply. You can reject, or you can, maybe say, I'm like, something came up, I can't do fall semester, can I work in the winter semester? And you still get those connections. There's still a lot of benefits coming to it, even if you don't get That's just what I wanted to add. Thanks, Alan, for giving me that time.
100%. I think that's great. I actually think it's important to think about two things I'll mention. One is your coursework can be really helpful, especially in for mechanical, civil, electrical, I would say. Beyond that, for software, computer, and CS students. But especially in electrical and mechanical, where the technical stuff really matters, being specific about what electives you want, be it medical imaging or more power systems, and is very important depending on what you want to work in the future. But even in software, the courses you'll take between computer security or, taking databases, which is required for CS, they are different areas, right? Machine learning versus user interfaces versus robotics. So there's a lot of things to think about in respect to what the jobs you want to take are. And Co-op will help you know what courses you do want to take, and the courses will help you find jobs. And the second thing I want to leave you folks off with, unless we have more questions, is that research can count as a co-op if you're doing it through LURA or USRA at York. And this is something you can really get leg up on other people, is that working on cutting edge stuff can be really helpful in finding an internship. So definitely consider doing research, getting that as a co-op, or just getting it after your first year to get some experience down. Research is phenomenal, and I definitely recommend it. No matter what you want, I guarantee you we have professors researching it here, from cutting edge AI to autonomous vehicles, electric vehicles, HVAC and COVID, earthquake. Yeah, what?
Brain implants.
Yeah, brain implants, like looking at the genome through graph theory, all sorts of things. Like, we have a huge faculty here. I don't know if you folks know, but even despite only being 10 years old, Lassonde is like number 2 or 3 right now in Canada for the impact of our research based on the number of citations. And this is compared to every other engineering school in Canada, despite being only 10 years old. So please take advantage of research. It is some of the biggest benefits we have, because although it can take time to develop a reputation in our education, it's immediate what's been seen in our research, and you can be a part of that right now. So with that, I want to ask if there's any other questions in the audience before we close out our session today. No? All right. Well, if you do have any other questions, please feel free to talk to me, Dan, Dennis, Sudhanshu. We have tons of people who are let us know. And with that, we're going to close out. For today. So thank you all so much for coming. At, I believe, 11 o'clock, we're going to be having a session on first year classes. So be there for that. Feel free to go walk around, get Tim's. I know it's a bit chilly. If there's any issues you have, please come to us. If you need washroom water, please come to us. And yeah, we will have an amazing rest of the day. Thank you again for coming. And I'm going to cut off the stream here.
We'll get